we start. Fans up on their feet. Timothy Peters brings him back to the green flag.
Didn't quite get the jump on Kyle Busch that time. Kyle was able to hang on that left rear corner, but Timothy's going to use the momentum on the outside and clear Kyle.
You held your breath there for a second.
Were you trying to tell him as a spotter would tell him?
Well, I just think it's so fun as a race fan. Timothy Peters, here comes Kyle Busch looking back to the bottom. Timothy Peters did a great job on the start of this race, cleared Kyle Busch and got the lead. He was driving along comfortably. Caution, lap 10. Come on back inside, Kyle. Try it again.
Let's see what happens once again.
Double file restarts are the best.
Side by side back here between Skinner and Bodine. Bodine on the outside. Skinner still working the bottom of the racetrack. He's one of the only trucks we've seen really try to hug the yellow line since the start of this race, which hasn't been too long.
Pretty good corner right there. Wasn't quite able to clear Todd, but he's doing a pretty good job hanging in on the bottom.
At some point, Rick, everybody will be all the way down on the bottom and everybody will be all the way against the top. It just depends on what your situation is, what your circumstance. Right now, Mike Skinner's got a good truck trying to make that pass down on the bottom, but Todd's making it hard on him.
Tell you what, I think Skinner might be irritating Todd Bodine right now. It looked like Todd may have brushed the wall coming at it too.
I think it looked like he got awfully close if he did not make any contact. If the contact was there, it was just very slight.
Skinner stays to the inside. Bodine on the outside. Skinner way down to the bottom of the racetrack. Now it looks like Todd Bodine's got the advantage as he pulls in front.
I can't tell you how hard it is to run that bottom down there. It's an easier groove to run around the top, but you can't just line up and ride behind the guy, and then as soon as you commit to the bottom, get up beside him. If you can't complete the pass, what happens? They freight train you on the outside.
Now Johnny Sauter's going to try to take advantage of the outside. Good battle on the left side of your screen. That's battle for 13th. Brad Sweet in the 90. Shelby Howard driving the KHI number 2.
There you see the 13 of Johnny Sauter making the pass on the 5 of Mike Skinner. We'll see if Skinner will move up the racetrack at all and try to protect that position.
Now we have trucks running underneath the yellow line. Mike, you talked about being all the way down to the bottom. They're below the bottom.
You got to use all your options, Phil.
We normally see that out of Kyle Busch. He'll either run right up against the wall or sometimes on the apron. Brad Sweet now trying the low line in that number 90.
Trying to get by the 92 of Dennis Setzer. Dennis following the 7 of Justin Lofton.
We talked in qualifying earlier about Dennis Setzer and his successes on short tracks and the fact that his trucks normally never have a scratch on them. By the end of the race, you normally never see a scratch on the 92 of Dennis Setzer because he really never gets into a position where he mixes it up with anybody else.
I didn't think he could fit between the 90 and the wall just then, so I knew it was going to be scraped up, but Dennis pulled it off. You're right, he takes care of his truck, and 9 times out of 10 he'll figure out a way to get it up toward the front.
Johnny Sauter pulls to the inside of Todd Bodine. That is a battle for the 6th position. Johnny Sauter is on the move.
Johnny Sauter trying to make up some positions on the racetrack, and he gets by that 30 of Todd Bodine. So now Sauter has moved up into the 6th position.
Good battle for 4th right there. Matt Crafton, the 88, has it. The 31 of James Busher is trying to get it.
Adam Alexander.
Matt Crafton running where he started this race, as Phil said, in the 4th position. He said the truck is good in 1 and 2, but pushing the nose in 3 and 4. And right behind him, James Busher started 3rd, currently riding 5th. He said we need to free it up in the center of the corner. He's looking at the inside again.
Check out the rain car, the K, and trying to get on the inside. Oh man, I just about to crash off turn 4.
This is still James Busher and Matt Crafton. Busher went all the way down to the apron. Now looks like Crafton's got that spot in front of James Busher.
Man, you ought to have seen these two, Rick, a second ago. The tire monkey was dead sideways, and the rain looked like he didn't know which way he was headed. Check it out. They exited turn 4. That's why I got all excited. Check out the battle these two are having.
The rain on the bottom of the racetrack is going to slide up.
They make a little bit of contact, get together there. It gets worse.
Yeah. and the rain did a nice job of not overcorrecting and chasing that truck up the hill and making even more contact with the 12.
Yeah, you know, last week, watch the tire monkey and the 60 truck had problems getting along last week, remember? There was a different driver in the 60, but the same 2 trucks.
Eric Almirola now on the back bumper of Lorraine Carthagena.
Remember, Eric made a couple pit stops under that caution flag, so he started from the very back of the pack. He's going to try to work his way underneath this 60 of Lorraine Carthagena. Ray, what went on with the 51 truck?
Well, Phil, they did not make the shock change, but Richie Waters still has it sitting on the toolbox if they need it. They did climb underneath and open up the valving on the left rear shock a couple of clicks. So far, Eric say it still has too much drive off, so they're going to try to do some adjustments whenever we get our first round of pit stops. He's trying the bottom side of the racetrack, but still tough place to pass.
Almirola running 18th. Carthagena is 17th.
How much fun is it to watch Richie Waters work over a truck? He doesn't mind using all options to get that thing tuned up, and he got to start early tonight. He didn't like it early on, so they're already working on it.
He pitted on lap number 11 and 12 and 14.
And luckily, you guys never question his calls.
No,
Never.
No, not more.
How could you?
Not often.
Timothy Peters has been out front every lap. We've completed 31 of the 200 scheduled for tonight's race. Kyle Busch has been, well, right on his back bumper, shadowing that 17 around this 5/8 mile racetrack. He challenged him twice at the start of the race and at the restart of the race. And since then, Timothy Peters has been in front of Kyle Busch. Timothy Peters looking for another win in the Camping World Truck Series. He's got one short track win from Martinsville. He's trying to make it 2 here at ORB. Sunday NASCAR race day invades Indianapolis. David Ruderman, Clint Boyer, and Jimmy Johnson join us live. Plus, Kenny Wallace shows you a side of the Brickyard like you've never seen before. NASCAR race day built by the Home Depot. Live from Indianapolis Sunday, 10 Eastern, only on Speed. Behind the wall goes the 7 of Justin Lofton.
What horrible luck this young man has. We caught a glimpse of what he's trying to do during the setup show, and gosh, he's just had so much bad luck. Had a great run going, ran out of fuel, was at Iowa with like on the last lap, 2 laps to go, and they'd already gone overtime. Ray?
Phil, it's a fuel line issue this time. Right by the carburetor when it was running, it was just gushing fuel out. They're going to have to get in there and make an adjustment, but they were lucky they didn't get a fire here because there was a huge amount of fuel coming out right on the right side of the carburetor at a fuel line where it hooks up to the carburetor.
You know, it's really amazing. There Justin Lofton is behind the wall having work done, and there his teammate is whose trucks are prepared exactly the same way out here leading the race and hasn't had near the bad luck that Justin has had lately.
Yeah, Justin Lofton was running in the 11th position when he had that problem with the fuel line going to the carburetor, as Ray mentioned. And Timothy Peters hasn't had problems up to this point in this race. He's looked very strong.
Well, you remember, though, at Iowa when one of Billy Blue's trucks broke, the other one broke. So Timothy Peters is leading the race, but I bet he's wondering, is my fuel line okay? They probably hadn't even told him, though.
Hey, remember St. Louis, the 7 of Justin Lofton lost an engine. Timothy Peters lost an engine on the last lap, but he was able to nurse it home to 6th.
Hornaday still battling on the racetrack. He runs in the 3rd spot. That's Timothy Peters, Kyle Busch, Ron Hornaday, 1, 2, 3.
Strong run for Hornaday early in the going. These guys have just been constantly battling this lap traffic. I told you in the pre-race this track is full. There's trucks everywhere. You're constantly making a move on somebody.
Things happen fast here at a short track as we're closing in on a 4th of this race being done.
Saw Matt Crafton go in the middle of 3 wide. James Buescher doing the same thing, as well as Johnny Sauter. They're going to split the lap trucks.
Like you mentioned earlier, you go where there ain't, and that's exactly what they're doing on this racetrack tonight.
Crafton riding along in the 4th spot. You got James Buescher breathing down his neck, and you can see Johnny Sauter right there. We talk about the trucks being built alike, and sometimes things happen to them similarly. And in this case, Buescher, the guys are able to run right with their teammate. We saw Crafton and Sauter right there together. So that's a good feeling if you're a race car driver, and you know you got everything that guy's got. Then it comes down to just you driving it and you doing the job.
And not making mistakes, especially on a short track. Johnny Sauter has had some good runs as of late. 2nd and 3rd his last 2 races out. His best finish at this racetrack, 2nd back in 2004.
And Michael, remember last week Johnny Sauter told us that their truck wasn't quite as good as they would have liked. They went to Matt Crafton's setup and parlayed that into a 3rd place finish.
10th, 11th, and 12th on your screen. David Starr in the 81. Brad Sweet in the 90 still staying way down on the bottom of the racetrack, and the 2 of Shelby Howard on the outside. Again, that 2, a Kevin Harvick Incorporated truck. Shelby Howard is behind the wheel. And more on that, Ray Dunlap.
Rick, in practice earlier today, Shelby's truck was terribly tight, and his crew chief Butch Hilton brought it in, put it up on the scales, and put all 4 different shocks and springs on that truck, a complete different setup to get it freer. And then in the second practice, Shelby said it is turning absolutely perfect.